Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're doing another installment of the weekly metagame breakdown, looking at the best performing, highest win rate decks in the historic best of one format for this video. We've covered a lot of best of three. As previously mentioned, Standard and Explorer are on a break until the new set comes out in a couple weeks. But we're going to look at the metagame. We get the data from Untapped.gg, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates user win rates, gives a whole bunch of stats. We are going to use those stats to see what's kind of happening from both a play rate and win rate. We'll look at the ladder itself from Diamond to Mythic, and then at least one kind of cool list. I ran into this player a bit in Diamond. We played each other at least twice. We were 1-1 at the very least. So kind of a different take. The biggest thing, Boros Energy is still kind of the top deck of the format. If we look comparatively to best of three, 67% in best of three. In best of one, it can be preyed on a little bit easier by the various like turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 combo decks, kind of playing into that. I will say, like, I was playing a bit yesterday and today, Platinum was a lot more Boros, and then since I moved to Diamond, there's a lot more combo decks. So the deck, like, I built a Boros control deck that was doing really well against the Boros like creature decks, and then it sucks against control and combo. It's just like, depending on the draw, you have two polarized matchups, one really good and one really bad. Another deck I tried out to see if it kind of had some legs again, because a lot of the Boros Energy decks are becoming inbred with like Sun Cleanser and ways to deal with the various creatures that way. I tried out Mono Green Devotion, and it's still pretty inconsistent. You either go crazy, or if they interact with anything on you, then you just lose. So it's kind of the too inconsistent, I would say, in the end for the deck. So we're going to look at the stuff itself. May 7th to today, Boros Energy 31%, 5-color Reanimator, which is Persist Combo, at 14%. Then you just have some like weird decks. Mono White Life Gain. Belcher's a very strong deck, very good into the Boros Menace that we are seeing. So let's jump into it. Diamond and Mythic rank, 22,000 games played. And the highest win rate deck is actually No Color Eggs. So Eggs, for those unfamiliar, was a old archetype. You're basically playing zero-costed artifacts to build up storm count and win through some combo elements. This deck is kind of achieving that through Semblance Anvil, Sculpting Seal, Foundry Inspector, and Cloud Key. Basically, the core here, just make all your things cost like 0 mana. Then with Mystic Forge and One Ring, you can pretty much play cards off the top of your library. You have Aetherflux Reservoir as a win condition, but you also have this new card, Glaring Fleshraker, as a way whenever you cast another colorless card, you get to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So kind of a cool way there. Kozilek's Command, Flexible Spell, could eat away at the graveyards, which is important for best of one. Just kind of a way to attack it there. Lumbus, way to draw cards. So you're going to see like these effects just to loot. Also gains you some life in a pinch and draw you a card. Mind Stone for ramp, and you kind of combo out that way. You have like Conduit Pylons, you have Crystal Grotto, just a bunch of ways to set up your draws. The Crawling Barrens is fine. I would probably see like, you don't need Cavern of Souls, which I guess you could do. Honestly, even over like the Crawling Barrens or like the blood, I could see it. I would probably just want all the scry stuff, because like you can name Eldrazi just to let it stick, but interesting kind of inclusion of the mana base there. We then go to Boros Energy. So prefacing, there's a lot of different ways to play Energy. Right now, I think if you can go with a Flage version, it offers the biggest range of flexibility in terms of attacking the metagame. I do think the Esper Sentinel probably doesn't get played as much. This one's a little bit interesting because it's playing Ranger Captain of Eos for like a tutor package. So you'll have a one of Ruby Collector, the Esper Sentinel. I thoroughly dislike Mana Tithe. I think it's so niche in the case. You're going to remember the one game you got them, and then all the other games when you're like, this card is useless. I would rather any other card. With the meta becoming more inbred, you probably want Portable Hole over Static Prison. It tends to just get caught up and put the attacks on your energy. The one card that you're going to see the good decks are playing a little bit more, Raven Charm. This card is removal in the creature mirrors, can destroy enchantments, so like if your opponent's still on the Static Prison line, whatever it may be, and it also exiles any number of target players' graveyards. So this gives you a fair game against the various graveyard combo decks. So one thing to kind of keep in mind there. The mana base here is kind of shitty. You should not be playing this many pathways, play increased amount of inspiring vantages, stuff like that. Like, for comparison, I've been so don't care about the record right now. Like, I made him 4, but I was messing around with variations. I started 0-2. I didn't realize that, but this is the version I'm trying out right now. I'm just tweaking along the edges, but better mana base. I'm playing 2 Aether Hubs. I know I'm quite negative against this card, but it's needed to kind of hit the Fable Flage line. I could even see potentially going up to 3rd over the 3rd Fable the Mirror Breaker. This is just a best of 3 list I started playing in best of 1. But this one's fairly strong, gives you a lot of options. The Impetuous Lootmonger is another very powerful card. Gives you card advantage. In the matchups where like Portable Hole and Galvanic aren't useful, you get to pitch them. Same with extra copies of the Goblin Bombardment as well. So I'll link both of those if you're interested. You can always find my decks on my profile. Like I said, I was trying out a couple of things. Mono green wasn't too well. I was literally 8-0 last night. Like in platinum, and then I went to diamond, and I'm 4-10. So it's just weird kind of variance. You can see like what's been working, what's not. The Woodlands combo I still think is very strong into a field of heavy Boros. We featured this in previous weeks. If you're playing a lot of Boros, if you're playing against control, it's fine. If you're playing against turn 3 combo a lot, it's terrible. Into combo mirrors, you're too slow. So kind of in that case. Then go to Izzet Belcher. So this is another powerful deck, turn 3 feasibility. So this one's Izzet, gives you access to Magma Opus for treasure ramp, Pact of Negation for protection. Basically the core of this deck, Ironcrag Feet into Goblin Charbelcher, activated the same turn. Creativity helps you find it as well, and then you have just a bunch of the dual lands. This version's on Shove-Asides. You have some gambles to help you find it. March of Reckless Joy as well. Okay, so I am missing some gambles. I'm like, when did I get 3 gambles? I'm not that much of a gambler. We then have the meme deck from Explorers kind of found its way into this format. This is not completely historicized, but I think it's kind of reasonable, just if you could interact in that way. So how it works is you play out 9 lives, then you donate it to your opponent with Coveted Falcon, and then you blow up the board with Devastating Mastery. So that's kind of the combo of the deck. This version here, it's a little lighter because usually you'll play more of the Wrath style effects to be able to kind of go off in that regard. Thraben Charm's a good inclusion. You may just want Fragment Reality as a flexible option there. So that's something to consider. You may just even want, with like the 9 lives lock, playing Solemnity in this format's not the worst because it shuts off the energy deck completely as well. So you can play like a Phyrexian on Life, a Solemnity, stuff like that. But it's a real meme deck that like last month in Explorer, this is what I qualified in best of 1 with. So it can win in best of 1. So the Persist deck was a very popular deck this past week for the best of 1 qualifier. It can win on turn 2. So how it kind of goes in like the nut case, you want to put turn 1 through one of these looting style effects, Scholar of the Lost Trove and any of these big effects, or even like a Conspiracy Raveler, any of these 2 creatures. And then if you aren't doing the Conspiracy Raveler, if you're doing the Scholar, you have to put Emergent and Breach in the graveyard. Cast Persist, cast it, and then you basically just chain together Breach the Multiverses over and over through either Conspiracy and Raveler or through Scholar of the Lost Troves. Just get a whole bunch of value, eventually cast Alrund's Epiphany, get an extra turn, and then attack them and kill them that way there. So it's technically a turn 3 because you have to untap on your turn 3, but they're dead on their turn 3. See a return of Dimir Ninjas. So this deck was one of the top decks and just got really pushed out. I still think it's pretty weak in this current form against Boros Energy. You have the Meat Hooks as a way to kind of catch up in the decks against Boros Energy. The problem is Meat Hook also hurts you. You're not a deck that can outpace it typically. Your creatures are fairly small. You get hit by bombardment. So I'm just sharing this really quick. Some people are still having success with it, but it's still a little weak overall, I think, just getting pushed out. Mono Green Devotion, as I mentioned, another deck fairly strong in the format. You get the Fanatic of Ronus. Say fairly strong, but it could be a little. Like this card shouldn't be in here. You know what? This is a very bad version of the deck. Like, this isn't a card you should be playing. You should be playing 4 Karns. You shouldn't be playing a Topiary. You should be playing 4 Outcaster. So this one's somehow winning 63%, but give me a sec. I'm 3 and 4, but I bet Boros two more times on my iPad. Kind of gives you an idea, but this is how the deck should be built. Arguably, you can kind of tweak these numbers here. While these are softer to bombardment hits, it does allow you to go the triple green on turn 2, which you need at times. But you should be playing 4 Karns. It just shuts off the entire Belcher deck. It gets you your Tormund's Crypt very easily as well. And it kind of hits. This is good because you can kind of storm off as well with Kiora in terms of drawing a bunch of cards. If you have a big storm turn and you can hit a bunch of things onto the field and get Karn, you get a Chroma's Memorial, haste out your team. Contagion Engine sweeps up your opponent's board. Very strong in that regard there. One Ring, Liquid Metal Coating, Needle. I'd probably get rid of Haywire Might and play Mindslaver. It came up in one game where I forgot that I took it out, and I needed to control my opponent's next draw and beat them that way there. Didn't work out. But this is kind of the idea of the deck. Generate a whole bunch of mana, combo kill with Karn is usually the way that you do it. Kind of going from there. Utopia Sprawl draws are the best because they don't get hit by various removal other than Static Prison or Portable Hole, which isn't super common. I was trying out a 1 of Shifting Woodland. It can make it a little awkward. I had a couple hands where this was my only green hand, but this can copy a Nykthos that's in the graveyard already and let you kind of combo that way there. So it's another way to kind of get an extra copy of Nykthos. And go to Grixis Heist. So Heist is an alchemy mechanic, lets you cast your opponent's stuff. So you have Grenzo on the top end, Triumphant Gateway, Imperious Lootmonger. I do think the Brotherhood's End is fairly strong because it could hit a flip to Johnny as well. So this is kind of just Grixis-y control. Is this a wizard? No, it's a human rogue. You're not a wizard, so Flame of Nor is probably not needed. Long Goodbye should probably just be cut for Static Discharge. I include this, but this is a low MMR deck, I can tell. Just the configuration of how stuff is. You really want to like juice this up. You shouldn't be playing Flame of Nor. Don't play this card here. Instead, cut this, play the full set of Galvanic Discharge, play the full Loot Mongers, and I think it could be reasonable in that regard. I would probably play a 3rd Brotherhood's End, maybe even a 4th. Just play full like control. Perseus is too slow for this format, unfortunately. Play like a full set of snaps. So there's something here. I just think it could be tweaked and like revised a little bit more, just to give you the idea. Tron. So this is Eldrazi. I like Eldrazi. We play Eldrazi. So we got Ramp, Mind Stones, Worn Power Stones, Ursa's Incubator, Hedron Archive. Just a lot of ways to get ahead on mana. Karn package, big Eldrazi on the top end. I would say you probably don't want to play Hedron Archive. Play what's it called? The X mana. Chalice of the Void. Play Chalice. Chalice is strong. Chalice on 1 or 2 can really slow down Boros. But using like Uglin's Labyrinth for value, you should also, instead of this, like some of these Ulamogs and some of these Emeralds, play the 7-drop Eater of Hopes, I think. The one that lets you set up your scry would be a better option there. This Karn board as well. If you're interested in a Karn board, play the same Karn board for the most part that I was playing in mine. You can kind of set it up different, but a single Tormund's Crypt, you shouldn't be playing Stonebrain, I think. I think you should be playing Needle, a little bit better. And then in this one, it's fine for Forsaken Monument. You don't need the Chroma's Memorial on this one. It's not necessary, but you should be playing Liquid Metal Coating and Contagion Engine at the very least in this particular one. Gives you some options in terms of deck itself. But also in this one, just play the full set of Radiant Fountains. You don't need Arch of Ozaka. The full Radiant Fountains it gives you some extra life. We got Yogg, Convoke Yogg. This one's at 61%. So basically, with Rope Line Attendant, if you put it on a Young Wolf, it basically creates an infinite loop where you can keep generating creatures to reset the Young Wolf, and then just keep drawing through your deck. With Guided Souls, you can basically offset the life loss. With Marionette Apprentice, you drain them out of life that way there. Sorin in this version, a Sun Cleanser to tutor, just a bunch of silver bullets. Nightmare can bring back stuff. Mara can kind of help you find your other convoke threats as well. You shouldn't be playing this Captivating Crossroads. Just load up on the various like fast lines. You have the Overgrown Tomb. You could probably get away with a Godless Shrine maybe, but you can kind of tweak the mana base. Don't play Captivating. This isn't that good. And then this is the player I kept running into, Samir Black. 42-25 with a Mardu Energy list, but it's kind of cool. They were playing full of Bitter Blossoms, which just keeps giving you some value. It does put your life at a little bit of precarious amount, but you have Sorens in here as well. With this version, they are on full Static Prison. I would probably do some Portable Holes in lieu just because it doesn't have a clean way to answer Sun Cleanser. Like, technically the Static Prison could answer it in that instance, but really taking advantage, Bombardment, Bitter Blossom gives you a little bit more game against the non-Wrath of the Sky control decks as well. But this one was a cool one. We had some good games. You can see I'm one of their losses here. It was the Boros mirror where I just kept getting stuck on lines, but this was a cool deck. And that's it for the week. Let me know what you think of the Historic format. Are you kind of off it with all the energy decks? You're still enjoying it, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.